I'm going to be saying the word surprising a lot throughout this review because, hey, I wasn't expecting this. Spy is written and directed by Paul Feig and stars Melissa McCarthy, Jason Statham, Jude Law, and Rose Byrne. And in Spy, Melissa McCarthy plays Susan Cooper, who is the CIA analyst who is pretty much like the partner of Jude Law's character Bradley Fine, who is a secret agent. And Susan Cooper is pretty much in Bradley Fine's ear all the time. You know, she's pretty much his HUD. She provides like the view of the map and whatnot. But then one day all the CIA agents are compromised and the CIA needs somebody who's not really a field agent to go out into the field. And Susan Cooper, who is pretty shy and self-conscious about herself, steps up to the plate and becomes a spy. Now, in a year when we've been given so many different kinds of takes on the spy genre, like this year alone we had Kingsman, we had Mordecai, we're gonna get The Man from U.N.C.L.E. later on in the year. It's really refreshing to get a movie such as this, that's simply entitled Spy, that is very, very enjoyable. This movie, despite some convoluted plotting by the end, is really, really funny. It has great comedy and it has great writing and directing from Paul Feig. Now, the first thing you should know about this movie is that it's not a spoof of the spy genre, okay? It is, on its own, a spy action film that also just happens to be a comedy. And this, for me, comes across visually as well because nothing looks cheap or half-hearted in the movie. Like, you know, the costumes and sets all look like they'd belong in a proper spy film. And there's technology also in the movie, like spy tech, that's not necessarily as crazy as, you know, some like the Pierce Brosnan, James Bond movies, but they're cool enough and they do help out with the action scenes pretty well. And there's lots of good music as well, from the soundtrack to the original score by Theodore Shapiro. There's this really cool like opening, Bond-esque opening song for the opening credits. It's really, really nice. Plus there's good sound throughout the entire movie that really kind of accentuates the R-rated violence. You know, there's the violence here does get quite bloody, which is really cool to see. And overall, I really was just surprised at how well crafted this movie was, because when you think of comedies, like sometimes you don't really think of, you know, comedies being like well crafted films, but everything here, like in the production design and music and whatnot, is really, really well done. It all goes down the line also to the editing, and I thought that the editing here from Dean Zimmerman and Don Zimmerman was also very well done. Like there's lots of good and effective like visual storytelling. There's some surprisingly tense moments also, especially during some fight scenes that are really cool. And in terms of acting, this movie has a great cast. First of all, Melissa McCarthy is completely convincing for me as both Susan Cooper and like her spy personas. You know, she really manages to pull off her emotional moments well, as well as her action scenes. You know, she really sold me on the fact that she could be like sort of an action star, because, you know, despite, you know, all the jokes like these different movies make about her weight and whatnot, not this movie, I mean other movies, she really kind of made me forget the fact that she was of this body type, because she was very, very good in her action scenes, and that's great to see. You know, I somehow bought the fact that all these different aspects of her character were coming from, well, the same character. Jude Law is very suave in this movie. He could be like the next James Bond if they made his character like a bit more serious and whatnot. Rose Byrne, Miranda Hart, Alison Janney, they're all very funny in this movie in their own ways. Bobby Cannavale does good work with his limited role. But if you want to talk about a scene stealer, just look at Jason Statham. Like, I don't know how this guy got so funny and like where he came from in terms of comedy, but like he completely stole the show for me. His comedic timing is surprisingly great. He pretty much plays himself, but like, you know, amped up to 11, and he has this whole like scene in the movie where he pretty much tells Chuck Norris jokes about himself, and they're hilarious. And yeah, like I just did not expect to see Jason Statham in a role like this. But for me, the most important part of Spy is that the script never feels the need to make fun of Melissa McCarthy's weight. So I completely disagree with the Huffington Post's review of this movie, because I do not think that they make fun of her weight at all in this movie. What they do is they make fun of the fact that this person who doesn't seem like she'd be a spy is a spy. For me to really test this, if you put anybody else into her role, like let's say Miranda Hart, but you use the exact same lines of dialogue, they would still make sense, they would still be funny, they're not making fun of Melissa McCarthy's weight. The comedy in this movie really banks on situational humor and insult humor, and both of those things are extremely funny in this movie. Paul Feig creates some very endearing characters as well, who are irresistibly likable despite the bad things they may do, which is a characteristic of many great comedies. And really, Paul Feig's direction is surprisingly very competent, especially with the action scenes, and he manages to strike a great balance, a balanced tone that allows both the action and the comedy to coexist hand in hand. And he really proves that you can do like a non-spoof tribute of the spy genre. I do have a couple issues with the movie. I feel like it runs a bit too long at points because certain parts and certain jokes drag on, especially with this character played by Peter Serafinowicz, or I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, but yeah. The plot also gets really kind of ridiculously convoluted and tiring by the end, which is the only part that for me felt like a real kind of spoof. But for me, Spy was still surprisingly a really, really good movie. I definitely recommend you checking it out. I'd love to see a sequel also, if not like a spin-off based on just Jason Statham's character. That'd be great. Alright, those are my thoughts on Spy. Have you guys seen it? What do you think about it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Whatever you thought, whether you agree with me or not, please leave me a comment. Let's have a conversation.